Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Here we are again. We made it through another week. And today on You Need to Hear This, I have a new guest that I'm so excited to introduce you to. Her name is Erica, and she is fascinating. So she should be joining us pretty quickly here. So hang with me as we wait for her. Here she comes.
Hey, we made it.
I can't believe I'm looking at you.
Oh my gosh, it's been it's been about a year or more, right? Since we
Yeah, it's
connected.
probably, maybe like a little bit more than a year. Oh,
Yeah.
hi, how are you? So happy to see you.
So
Wow,
happy to see you too.
this
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
absolutely. Everyone keeps messaging me about these glasses. They're like, I need them, I want them. She is so stylish. Yay.
Well, they can hit up this boutique in Bethesda, Maryland, across from Woodmont Grill. I wish I knew the name of it, but I'll get you the name. I'll get you the name, I promise.
That's so awesome. Well, okay, so I feel like we have so much to talk about, so I want to just like dive right in and introduce you. We met, like how I meet a lot of people lately. I feel like Instagram, like it's so weird. And I remember I was dropping my daughter off for like a doctor appointment, and we had a phone call, and I just remember the moment I heard your voice, I was like, oh wow, yeah, her vibes. Yes, like
We connected. It was
yeah,
like kismet. It was kismet. That's what it
totally,
is. Yeah.
totally. And I genuinely believe that you are probably the most calming human I've ever met on planet Earth. Like you just have an incredible calming, like vibe about you. So, and there's a lot of reasons why, and I'm excited to introduce you. So, like, let's just get started. So, you, Erica, like, have this incredible career. Like, you are like a Jill of all trades, and so you are a nurse. And are you still a full time nurse?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
And you created a skincare line that was in Whole Foods and like from the ground up. And then you do coaching for, for like the everyday person, like life coaching, even executives. You all have like a wide range of coaching services. You are a Reiki expert. You are a meditation expert. I mean, you have done so many things. So how did you get, like, how did you get from here all these different incredible expertise? So yeah, tell me the story. Like, how did you build this?
So it started for me during the breakdown of my marriage. I hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I had to figure out what it is that I wanted to do for the first time, really think about that and dig deep,
Yeah.
and how I wanted to do it. But then I later realized me trying to put the pressure on myself to figure out how to do it created more anxiety than it really needed to be. We just need to be committed to wanting to change the condition of our life. And the how will get figured out later, but you just have to stay committed and not focus so far in advance on what you or how you want it to transpire, but focus on what you can do today. And for me, even just focusing on today seemed so hard because I was still stuck in the past. I was
Ugh.
still stuck on, yeah, you've been there, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so how many times do we do that to ourselves where we hold on to the regrets of the past and we don't honor the moment as it has shown up? And if we just change the narrative in terms of seeing it as a lesson, but not so much as a devastation, And that's the part that I needed to transition out of. I was devastated by the condition of my life, and I wanted to change. And I needed to change. I knew that I couldn't continue doing the same thing. I knew that I couldn't continue thinking in the same way because, the odds are that my life will not be where I want it to be. So I had to change how I saw my own narrative. I had to change how I showed up in the world. So being willing to take some steps to move forward, things that were scary for me. So you talk about the products in Whole Foods. I will tell you that beautiful endeavor started because I was asking those tough questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What am I really, really, really great at that I can do without strain, right? I know it requires work to do it, but I do it from a place of love. I'm serving from a place of love. And in the pursuit of my own happiness, I started making products. I started, reinventing, so to speak, the moments that I had with my dad in the kitchen when I was a little girl in Manhattan on 113th Street between Amsterdam and Broadway. And we were in our tiny kitchen, and I would see my dad making skincare products. And he would make the products, and he would tell me stories about his childhood in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. And I would laugh, and he would continue to tell me the same stories over and over and over again. And I would laugh as though I heard them for the first time, each and every time he would make those products. And so as I was trying to find my own happy place, I remembered those precious moments with my dad in the kitchen.
Wow.
And I wanted to bring that feeling, evoke that feeling of love, safety, happiness into my life because I was void of that at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So I created the products, and my dad didn't leave behind any recipes. My father died when I was 15 years old. And so there were no recipes for me to, take and tweak or continue on with. And so I did my own research. I knew the basic components of how to do it, but I didn't know the proportions. And everything is chemistry, and it matters in terms of how much of this and how little of that you need in order to create what it is that you're making. No different than cooking. No different than how we orchestrate our life. No different than how we show up in the world. Knowing the proportions and what works, what doesn't, learning those lessons, tweaking, doing it again until all of a sudden you realize, okay, there's a system to the madness. You figured out what works for you and what fits and what feels natural. And so I figured out what works in terms of the recipe. And then, because my background at the time was in sales and marketing, so just to give you a little tidbit about me, I started out as a nurse, and then I worked for a pharmaceutical company. So I was pretty well versed in terms of how to pitch a product, how to market it to someone that I'm selling to. But I knew that this creation that I was making felt right for me. So I didn't feel like I had to pitch them so much. I just had to share with them why I thought this would be the right product for their customers walking in the door. And I took the word out in terms of pitch, which is what I was ingrained to do as a salesperson. And it came this time effortlessly. It came from a place of ease and grace. It came from a place in which I knew I was where I was supposed to be. And on a way home from work one day, I walked into Whole Foods Market. At the time, I had already created my product. I had the labels, and I knew that it was shelf ready, right? And there was a whole process behind that prior to me even walking in the door in Whole Foods. So I don't want to simplify it, but I do want to at least paint the picture, right? And so I walk into Whole Foods, and it was as though God had opened up the heavens to allow the right person to be there on the right day at the right time. And I met her. I pitched my product with love, and I had her try the product, and she loved it. She loved it. But she said to me, she said, Erica, I love the product, but I need to make sure my entire team loves the product too. She said, I'll get back to you. I said, okay. A month goes by. I don't hear from her. 3 months go by. I don't hear from her. And at this point, I'm saying, God, you have taken me this far. What is this about?
Right.
How could you, have me there on the right day with the right person at the right time? And she loves the product, but here I am in limbo waiting for this answer with bated breath. And then I got to a point in which I released it. I got to a point in which I surrendered and I said, if this is not for me in terms of the place, I knew the product was for me, but in terms of where my product should be showcased, then I know that the right place will show up. But it took me time. It took me several months to really release that. And when I got to a place of surrender, then she reached out to say, it's a go. It's a go. And it was the most exciting time of my life, yet I didn't celebrate. I was still working a full-time job. I was working my business on the side, and now my business actually has life, and I'm sharing this love with customers that walk in the door and happen to walk down that aisle at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't celebrate the journey, and that's what I've learned along the way, is to celebrate the journey. Sometimes you're waiting for this huge win, and for me, being in Whole Foods was a huge win. No one in my family had done that. None of my friends had done that. I read stories about people, in articles that have done it, but I didn't know anyone personally that had done that. And yet I didn't see it as a huge win. I saw it as, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? And then what's the next thing I need to do? And what's the next thing I need to do? Until I got to a point in which I said, this was a few years down the road, I said, there's more to life than always thinking about what's the next thing I have to do. How about I celebrate myself right here and now on the journey? And that doesn't mean that I need to spend lots of money to do that, but maybe I take a moment to retreat, nourish myself, and listen to what it is that I need internally. And what I realized is that while I loved and enjoyed creating my products, what I was most passionate about was helping people to get outside of themselves from their mind, right? We create these mind-made filters that hold us back, and it's so hard for us to break free. And I have been there on many occasions. And what I enjoyed most is helping people to ultimately transform their life.
Yeah.
And I felt, even during the process of me having my products at Whole Foods, I was already doing this with friends or family or even people that I would happen to meet. I was one of those people that I didn't have to know you. If I saw you, it's something, I guess, that radiates from me and radiates from them, where people felt comfortable talking with me. And it was my joy. That's what I loved doing, absolutely loved doing. And I said, okay, Lord, you've given me this vision to create these products, and I know it is a labor of love, and it's so much bigger than me. Yet my heart is now leading me to help people to do the same thing, right? Birth their own vision, birth their own labor of love, and not necessarily knowing how to do it, but being able to be used as a vessel and a vehicle by which I can help someone that's in need. And so I started slowly transitioning myself into that place. But I will tell you, that didn't come easy. That awakening or understanding that my purpose now is changing, right? I think sometimes we often feel like our purpose is just one thing, and that is absolutely not accurate.
Right.
Our purpose can be many different things,
That's right.
right? And to allow ourselves the opportunity to show up in a way in which we serve that next calling on our life.
Yes.
And I decided to do that after my surgery. So the other awakening for me is that I went in for simple surgery. I think it was 2013, maybe 14, 15. I believe. I forgot the date now.
Yeah.
But I went in for simple surgery, and that surgery almost took my life.
Yeah.
It took me 1 year to recover from that surgical hiccup. And during that period of recovery, I started looking at everything and what I felt I needed to do in terms of honoring what my body was telling me to do. So at that point, I was at, a level of exhaustion. I was working full time. I was running my business on the side. I had no time off. And during that process, I was also transitioning in terms of what is it that I really want to birth next. I know that there's this level of uncomfortability, inside of me, and I need to not ignore it. I know that it's something there that's guiding me and telling me, Erica, I need you to listen. I need you to step back. I need you to take care of yourself. And then I need you to pivot and shift. So my pivoting and shifting happened due to that surgical hiccup that almost took my life. And what I will say is that experience on the other end, while I thought, again, another level of devastation, it gave me new life.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Keisha, I no longer could do anything that wasn't congruent with my path. I didn't have the bandwidth. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the yearning to spend my time doing anything that wasn't congruent with what I truly believed in.
Yep.
And so you get that, right? Yeah. So when I made that decision and that shift, a lot of things changed for me. I left the job. I decided this is not the career that I wanted. At the time, I was working for a medical device company that was draining my every existence on so many different levels. I decided I'm walking away from this, and I am going to pursue what is in full alignment with me.
Yes.
That also wasn't easy. I took a major financial pay cut.
Sure.
Willingly did it because I knew that I physically needed to nourish myself, and if I continued on this path, I would not be here.
Right.
I knew that.
Right.
I knew that, and I knew that with such certainty that I had to face the truth of what my existence was. So during these years of really doing a lot of personal development and self-work, I learned a lot of things. Meditation, mindfulness, and really paying attention, implementing those two practices in your life, you are more aware of what's happening around you, and you are supremely aware of what is happening within you.
Yes.
Supremely aware. And so I was willing to honor what my internal compass was leading me toward. even though it was uncomfortable, another level of what was uncomfortable, financial strain. And how am I going to do this? I had tons of questions. How you want me to do this? I'm listening. I hear you. I know that you are saying this is the next step for me and to trust you. But when I look at the finances and I have 2 sons and I'm trying to figure it all out, I don't see how this is going to work.
Right.
But I did it anyway. And that's the thing. That's the thing about stepping into your purpose and being willing to face fear. The fear is that you're willing to say, even though I cannot see the entire journey ahead, I am choosing to ground myself in this moment, and I am holding on to your commitment to me and my commitment to you to play full out. To play full out. And so I made the decision. I went back to nursing. And let me tell you what's so interesting. Prior to accepting that position as an integrative medicine nurse, which was one of the best career moves I could have ever made, exclamation mark.
Yeah.
It literally is that a couple of years prior, I had studied and gotten my certification to be a Reiki master. And when I accepted this position as an integrative medicine nurse, there was no discussion about me being a Reiki master. In fact, no one knew that I was. I didn't have it on my resume.
Right.
Here's what happened. As I was right prior to accepting that position and resigning from my previous job, resigning from my previous job, I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for a patient, and the waiting room was outside of where the patients actually wait. And while I was sitting there, I took out my Reiki book because I was preparing for a presentation for Mind Body Week. I had been asked to be a presenter for Mind Body Week in Bethesda, and so I was preparing for my presentation, and this was the first time that I actually was willing to be my true, authentic self at work, which is what I do outside of work. That book, I was willing to now, as I'm waiting on my patient, pull the book out and start reading. And initially I said, Erica, you really shouldn't do this. You don't need to cross lines. This is what you do outside of work. It's not what you should really be doing inside of work, right? And I said, bump that. I said that this is who I am. It doesn't change how I show up. In fact, it makes me a more effective person at work when I can be fully authentic. And so I had my book, I was reading, and the nurse walks out and she sees my Reiki book. And I'm thinking to myself, oh Lord, please tell me she doesn't see this. But she sees this. Okay, so now we're going to have this conversation.
Yeah.
So she says to me, oh, what do you know about Reiki? And so we have this discussion. And she says, well, the physician is a Reiki master too. I said, huh? I was like, huh? I was like, what? And she said, yeah. She said, I've gotten many Reiki sessions. She said, I love Reiki. And we have this whole major conversation. And I said, you know what? What it taught me in that moment was all this fear that I was having about who I was becoming, which was no longer congruent with the job that I was in.
Yes.
I was willing to let it go.
Yeah.
And I was willing to be at a point in my life in which I had nothing to hide, nothing to defend, nothing to protect. I was willing. I was willing to do that. And when I made the decision to do that, it was as though I had entered another level of life.
Yeah.
So here I am, flash forward. I've accepted this integrative medicine job. They also didn't know that I was a Reiki master. not that I didn't want to say it, it just wasn't a part of my job description. And I remember walking into Fort Belvoir, and I was there, and the manager at the time, the nurse manager at the time, she and I were talking. And she was from the Philippines, and we happened to be talking about a lot of different things, and Reiki was one of them. And I had mentioned that I was a Reiki master. And she said, "You're a Reiki master." I said, "Yes." She said, "Can you do that for our patients here?" And I was like, "You mean I can actually do this for your patients here?"
Wow.
And she said, "Yes."
Yep.
And I thought, okay, so she said it. I'm like, Lord, okay, I'm getting the confirmation, clearly.
Yeah.
And she literally set me up in an entire room. I was at that job for 4 years. I provided Reiki, biofeedback, battlefield acupuncture. I had gotten trained as in battlefield acupuncture, which is only military based. You get that specific training. And I was on a path to really, not even on a path, I was living my dream existence, that who I am outside of work is totally who I am inside of work, right? And I had the most amazing experience in those 4 years working for Walter Reed, working for the Pentagon, working for Fort Belvoir and Quantico and other military bases. And our entire team was cohesive, all of us. And I just want to give a shout out to the medical director at Walter Reed, Dr. Spivak, who is one of the most intelligent, amazing, fully aligned human beings who treats the whole patient.
Yeah.
He changed the game for me in terms of what I should be looking for when deciding which physician to see.
Yeah.
For my own care, for my children's care, for my mother's care, my sister's care, etc. He changed the game for me. What an amazing man who truly is living his purpose here on earth. And so I say all this to say that during this time, while I was practicing integrative medicine, I also made the decision to move forward with my vision of becoming a coach. And I started it with what was no experience other than a passion and a calling and an understanding that this is your next step, and being obedient with listening to it. Right? And so, and being in full alignment with it, ultimately. I later went, even a couple of years afterwards, I decided to do some, training through an ICF company, which is the International Coaching Federation, where it's a credentialed coaching affiliation, and they teach you the core competencies and the basic principles on what is ethically allowed as a coach. So I did go a step further to be trained by this company as a certified coach, and I will be working on my credentialing shortly. And so here I am at this point in my life where I feel like, from a career standpoint, I am fully aligned with where I am supposed to be, who I'm supposed to be, and not so concerned about how I'm supposed to do it. Yeah.
That's incredible. I was just going to say, I feel like one of the thing that I keep hearing, there's a couple of themes that I keep hearing, and like congruency is beautiful. And I feel that very deep. I know that if you're really being honest with yourself and looking at your life, are you the same person at church that you are at work, that you are at the grocery store, that you are with your kids? And that is a whole other conversation of, you know, like someone like me who grew up trying to assimilate or to be chameleon in each place that I was, knowing how that made me sick. How it, you know, there's a safety that, okay, if I blend in here, then I'm safe, right? And then if I blend in here, I'm safe. But when I go home, I feel unsafe because I'm not who I am. So I think that, gosh, you keep saying that, and that really sticks out to me. And I think a lot of people get that because that is like, I mean, that right there is the work of our lives of who am I? And I love that you said like not worrying about the destination, but just like the step, because we're always in the future. And you like I want to go back to where you said, you know, here you are, the only person you know to create, to birth something. I love that word, that term, birth something, and then to get it from, you know, like a thought to on the shelves of Whole Foods. And you're right, like, you know, you fast forward through that, but that was that we could probably talk about for hours, that process, and days even, and then to not celebrate. Like I think so many women know what you're talking about when you say, oh no, I didn't celebrate, like it was just the next thing. There's this drive, and I think for people there comes a fear of, but what if I fail? Like I got here, but now I've got to hustle to stay here.
Yeah.
Like you know, another thing that I keep hearing you talk about is like fear, and like that is really real for so many of us. It dominates what we do, our decisions in life. And like I just hearing you talk have to like tease out the part where you're talking about beyond fear, like using this desire to be totally congruent in your life to like to pivot. Like you have been able to pivot again and again and again so clearly, because it's not like you don't face fear, but it's what you do in the face of it. Like, and so many of us are stuck and frozen because we can't let go of the past and we're too afraid to move forward. Like I mean, your story, I think just it hits me so hard. And I think it hits, honestly, anybody who is listening and anyone who will listen to this, because right now, Eric, so many of us are so stuck in fear. Like, do I put my kids in school? Am I endangering them? And then, you know, there's the group of people that are like, it's all fine. Like, you're making a big deal about this. You're living in fear. But then even telling somebody that you're living in fear, that like that puts something on you. Like there's something spiritual to that
Yeah.
I mean, so everything you're saying, I feel like your story could not be more relevant right now, because every single person like around the world, but specifically in America, is feeling sort of the oppression of anxiety and fear, and how to let go and how to move forward and how to deal with anger. And so I just had to pause and say like, whoa, I'm going to rewatch this again and again because I'm learning so much about the fluidity of life and the ability to like turn and pivot where like the tide of life is taking you. That is just so powerful.
Yeah. And it's like you're tangoing, right? And let's just take a breath on that. You know, it's a tango. You know, I no longer look at fear from the standpoint of I can't do it. But I look at it from the standpoint of what do I need to do to overcome it?
Yeah.
Right? And the only thing that I realized that worked is facing it head on.
Yeah.
And trusting enough that it will work out. If you are congruently aligned with your truth, it doesn't mean that everything will be easy. Because as I've explained, I've had many hiccups.
Yeah.
But it does mean that there is joy on the other side of it. If you're willing to face the fear, tango with it, and then teach it how to dance.
Huh. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Teach it how to dance.
That
And
is,
so that has been a really huge lesson for me, a huge, huge lesson for me. And I embrace it now. I embrace it now because I realize that when fear pops up, there's growth on the other side. And so that's how I look at it now. I look at it in terms of, okay, here you are. I feel uncomfortable. I feel scared. I feel worried. I wonder if I can do it. Um, but then on the other side of that, based on my experience, is that, okay, if I tackle this, if I learn to understand what I need to do to get to the other side of it, all of this is waiting for me over here. I can't stay stuck with the worry that it's not going to work out, because if I continue to believe that, guess what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It won't work out.
sure.
You will stay stuck, and then you'll continue that narrative.
Yes.
See, that's why I didn't want to do it. But how do you know you didn't want to do it? You know, you didn't do it. So how do you know that it wasn't going to work out? Right? And so it's here's the thing, as a kid, and this is really where I am now, I no longer enjoy this sport, but as a child, my father loved boxing. And I equally loved boxing because my dad loved boxing. And our favorite boxer was Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. Can I tell you, just love them? Love them, love them. And so when I look at fear, it's like I'm in the ring, and I think that fear is my opponent, right? But really, I'm the one who's self-perpetuating this fear. It's not this external factor that I have to now overcome. I'm the one that needs to overcome my own mindset in regards to how I see it. I'm the one that needs to overcome and learn and transform and figure it out to do it differently, so that this no longer becomes my enemy. Now you've become my partner, right? And so it's a mindset game. It really is. On top of the mindset game, it requires that your physical body needs to be in action. You need to be in action. And what action looks like is fully showing up for yourself in a way that honors what you stand for. It honors the goals that you've set for your life. It honors who you are as a human being and the contribution that you have to offer humanity. It honors, period. How you show up matters. And it means that you're willing, again, as I said earlier, to play full out. To give it all you've got, leave nothing on the table, so that you can say, I did the damn thing.
That's right.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I did it. I did it. I did it. And I can celebrate myself, which will give me the encouragement to keep going. Because life itself, you're constantly learning lessons, right? And you have your up moments where you feel really good about yourself, and then you have your really low moments where you feel like, am I worth anything? Do I matter to anyone? Am I understood? And in those dark moments, that's when you really need to call on your shiro or your hero to get you out of there, to pull you out of the dumps. So that is when you look at celebrating your wins and celebrating those milestones in your life, it allows you to know that you've still got it. So that when you hit, or when you hit your version of rock bottom, you don't have to stay there. You then become reminded of your own brilliance. You're reminded of your own strength. You're reminded that, you know what? I've done it before. I can do it again. Yeah. It doesn't mean you won't go there, right? You will have your moments of sadness. You will have your moments of worry, but you don't stay there as long as you did before.
Right.
And that's the power of it. That's the power of it.
So with that said, let's pivot and talk about what we're seeing, and I think of the last few guests we've brought, that it just naturally sort of come up, like in the time of COVID, so many people thought we're not going to be having this conversation in the summer, and here we are. And I think, there's a grief process, and I think, once you sort of move towards acceptance, you're able to go, oh, I think we're going to have this conversation well into next year. I think we're going to, this thing that we're in is not ending anytime soon. And I mean, like, so many of us thought, like, okay, we'll resume our vacations this year, and school will start, and this one, and that's not going to happen. So, and people are suffering around this country. And then you add the racial injustice, and you and I know, like, the level of trauma and re-traumatization as we watch it, as we have, even just in having conversations, what it opens back up in us as people of color. Like, it's a lot. I've never experienced anything like this time in my 40 years on Earth. And I've had some trauma in my life, and I have never experienced anything like this sort of like daily, like, anxiety. So how do we survive in this, like, inside? How do we, and then, like, how do we get through the day? Then, more than get through the day, how do we live in a place of peace? And then how do we also still dream dreams? Like, life hasn't ended. We still have to dream.
We still have to dream.
So how do we do this? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. That's a great question, because we're all feeling it, right? But not only are we feeling it within our homes, we're feeling it within our community.
Mm-hmm.
We're feeling it within our state.
Yep.
We're feeling it across oceans and continents, right? This is a global crisis, which magnifies it on a completely different level.
Yeah.
So we're feeling our own emotions, but we're also feeling everyone else's.
Yes.
Then multiply that with each time you turn on the news and you hear it again. Each time you turn on Facebook or Instagram and you see a report of a racial injustice that's happened in the world, and a video that depicts the exact scenario of what happened.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is an intense time. This is really a time to, I wish I could say woosah, but really, before we get to a place of woosah, we have to get to a moment of truth.
Yeah.
Which means, again, showing up. We can no longer turn a blind eye to what's happening. COVID exists, so now what do we do about it, right? How do we manage what seems unmanageable to the best of our ability? There's some basic protocol that you can follow, right? And so outside of that, there's this level of rawness that it's like a wound that you're consistently, there's a knife that's consistently digging into this wound in the world. Okay, so I need to manage this and follow this protocol. And now I also, on top of that, have to protect my children. If you're a person of color, if you have African American children, there's another level of worry that you're experiencing. I'm there with you. I have 2 sons, and there is not a moment that I am not concerned in this moment of in time. But also, with that said, and having done a lot of inner work on, in terms of spiritual growth, if you believe in the understanding that everything happens for a reason, does that mean you sit back and do nothing? So we have to be careful with that. We have to be very careful with that. If you believe in everything happens for a reason, and now help me to find out what my reason is here on earth to support this calling that is happening now.
Yeah.
So we can no longer turn a blind eye to it. We can't put a Band-Aid over it because it's bleeding. We can't pretend that it's not happening because we're hurting. And what I will say that has been so amazing is to see these young people across continents of different nationalities, of different religions, of different everything, banding together to say enough is enough.
Yeah. Yes.
That is our future.
Yes.
Those young people remind even us, you and I, how to be.
Yes.
I am so inspired by them. I am so empowered by their stance to say, I am not willing to accept what is unacceptable.
Yes. Yep.
And so when we say to ourselves, how do we better manage what seems so out of the ordinary, inhumane, the ugliness of the world that we just wish did not exist, how do we better manage that? Is to stand up, no longer be silent about it. You know, John Lewis said sometimes you have to cause some necessary trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Good trouble. Yeah.
And some good trouble, he said. Some good trouble. That's what he said. Some good trouble. And taking a stand to say, okay, I am willing to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I am willing to have a conversation with my circle of friends. I am willing to use my gifts and talents to help my community do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I am willing to use my writing skills to educate people on how to better manage the situation. I am willing to become the person that I am asked to be,
Yes.
and not because the world is asking us to be something. The world is asking us to step up. The world is asking us to say, we need you. We need you to do something. We can't define what that something is, but you need to do something.
Yeah.
And saying, you know, this too shall pass. Yes, it is true. This too at some point will pass. But in order for it to pass, it requires that we be an active participant in the process so that it passes.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what that calling is within each of us, this is a time to dig deep. This is a time to get really centered. This is a time to really go within. And meditation and mindfulness helps us get to a point in which we're not worried about the future. We're not depressed about the past, but we're focused on the present moment to say, what can I do today?
That's right. Yeah, that's
What
so good.
can I do today? Yeah.
Well, and we have Instagram cuts me off, and so we have 12 minutes, and I want to do two things. I want to do a little guided meditation with you.
Beautiful. Perfect segue.
Before we do that, I want to tell everyone that so I mean, honestly, I could talk to you forever. And you know, so Erica not only coaches people, and honestly, like if you're watching and like this is a testament to like how powerful story is, and how powerful like connection and just vulnerability is. I think that anyone would be crazy not to work with you. So we can follow you at Rise 360. Is it coaching? Is that your Instagram handle?
Actually, it's weriseglobally.com.
Is your website, and then
is the website.
And your Instagram handle
is Rise 360 Coaching.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to put that in this post so everyone can find you. And then you have a class that you have started. It's a class you created, and so people can go and take the class. And like this is just like what you saw here is just like a little piece of like what you're going to get, and you have priced it so affordably. And I honestly think like anyone would be foolish not to take advantage of it, because I know you're very compassionate and you're very concerned with, people have a hard time, but we need this. Like, we definitely need to take a moment to focus on our centering, healing, congruency, all of this work. So I want people to go find you, and like I said, I'm going to post all of this info so that they can. And then I want to just take, about maybe 5 minutes and go give you the floor to. I've been looking for this all week. I cannot wait. So,
yeah. And here's what I'm going to say, because I'm so grateful that you have me on, that anyone who decides to enroll in the She Rises course that is all online based. It's a 4-week course. You'll have a weekly lesson, and there's a 64-page workbook that goes along with it. Anyone that decides to purchase or enroll in this course, I will give them 50% off for watching this. So this is only for this group, and I will hold that for the next 48 hours.
Perfect.
So, and they can go to WeRiseGlobally.com. In fact, I would much rather that they email me so I can give them the discount for the course. And my email is rise360coaching@gmail.com. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
All of that in there. That is so generous.
Beautiful. Thank you. So let's prepare to do a mindful breathing practice, and we'll lead into a short meditation. But if you can mind the time for me, how much time do we have?
8 minutes.
We have 8 minutes. Okay. So if you can mind the time, we'll do a breathing practice for 2 minutes, and this breathing practice is a very different technique in terms of how you expel the air.
Okay.
This breathing practice will de-excite the nervous system. So if you have anxiety, if you're under stress, if you're having difficulty sleeping, and a lot of this is happening now with the pandemic and the racial tension and the uncertainty in the world in general, we're really heightened in terms of our emotional state of being. This will de-excite the nervous system, and how it works is this. You will breathe in normally through your nose, you will exhale normally through your mouth, and then you will hold your breath for 4 to 7 seconds. The purpose being is that as you expel the air out of the body and you're holding your breath for 4 to 7 seconds, it actually increases the carbon dioxide in the body. So from a chemical and scientific standpoint, it slows down the monkey mind, it slows down the stressors in your body, and it allows your body to relax. Okay, so it's amazing how switching your breathing can literally switch and transition how you're feeling. So we'll begin this practice, and do we have, how much time do we have within the 2 minutes?
7 minutes.
Okay. Oh, it's 7 minutes. Okay. So let's breathe in through the nose. Let's exhale through the mouth. Hold the breath, and I will count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Let it go. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Let it go. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe normally. If you do this breathing practice before you go to bed, and even when you wake up in the morning, it will serve as a great benefit to you. Think of it like a muscle. The more you do it, you're training this muscle in your body to transition and become more relaxed and more at ease so you can better tackle the day or mindfully sleep easily. Okay?
Yeah.
So that is a really powerful breathing practice.
Oh,
Now,
God, I feel great. I can totally feel it.
good, good. So what I'd like to do, depending on our time, I'd like to walk us into 5 minutes. Perfect. We'll walk into a basic relaxation breathing technique. And I'd like you to just relax your shoulders, uncross your arms, uncross your legs. Relax the muscles around your cheeks, unclench your jaw. Drop your tongue down low, release it from the upper palate of your mouth. Relax the muscles around the eyes, soften them. Soften the muscles around the eyebrows. Okay? Make sure your back is fully supported and you're not slouching. We want that diaphragm open. Okay? Perfect. So let's begin. I want you to close your eyes. All right? And I want you to think about bringing your attention to one small area of the body, your left foot. And I want you to feel any tension there may exist in your left foot. And I want you to say in your mind the word relax. And allow your foot to relax as best as it can. Now bring your attention to your right foot. And feel the tensions in your right foot. And say in your mind the word relax. Don't force it. Allow it to relax as best as it can. Now bring your attention to your left leg. And notice the feelings in your left leg. Notice if there's any tension. And mindfully say to yourself, relax. And allow your leg to relax as best as it can. Now bring your attention to your right leg. And feeling the sensations in your right leg, and mindfully bringing to your awareness the word relax. And allow your leg to relax as best as it can. Now bring your attention to your lower back, an area that we often carry a lot of stress. Notice any tension that exists in this part of the body. And mindfully say to yourself, relax. And allow your back to relax and to open up as best as it can. Now bringing your awareness to the middle of your back and noticing any tension there may exist in the middle of your back. And saying silently the word relax. Allowing yourself to relax as best as it can. Now bring your attention to your upper back. Feeling the sensations in your upper back. And noticing any tension there may exist in that area. And mindfully repeating the word relax. Allowing yourself to relax as best as it can. Now bringing your attention to your shoulders, an area that we often feel like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And mindfully saying the word relax, allowing ourselves to relax as best as we can. Good, very good. Now bringing our attention to our mind an area that we often feel entrapped by, our thoughts, and mindfully repeating the word relax and allowing ourselves to relax.
So Instagram just cut us off during our incredible guided meditation. They cut us off at an hour, so I'm going to wait for Erica to come back. And there she is. Yay.
Oh,
Okay, we're back. Instagram can't beat us. Okay.
exactly. And here's what's so perfect is that we were literally at the end. And the only thing that we had left was to do 60 seconds of silence. And so that is the only thing that ends that particular mindful practice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, can we do that 60-second of silence?
Yes, we can.
I need that.
You need
my body
absolutely.
feels so
Yeah.
right now than it did at the start. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So just get comfortable in the chair. Again, making sure that your muscles around your cheeks are relaxed. Soften the corners of your eyes and your eyebrows. Drop your tongue down low, releasing it from the upper palate of your mouth. Relax your shoulders, making sure your back is fully supported. Very good. Uncross your hands and uncross your feet. Wonderful. All right, so let's just ease into this practice, feeling our body, noticing any tension that may exist, and also noticing that you are not your feeling. Very two different things. Keeping your eyes closed and having a moment of pure silence for 60 seconds. Let's begin. The clock starts now. Keeping your eyes closed and easing out of the practice. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Oh, I could have kept them closed for a long time. Wow. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're
The
so
work
welcome.
that you are doing is like soul healing, and honestly, like that's the most important work that there is, because if you aren't healed in here, there's no way you can really be a part of healing what's outside of us. So thank you for
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank you for
it was
having
such
me.
a gift. It's such a gift. Okay, my friend, be well. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.